Tom, it appears to me that a lot of retailers are trying in-home selling, expanding their base. It would seem to me you're on the customer's turf instead of your own turf. The whole approach seems to be quite different.
Well, the approach is different. You know, for one thing, she's invited you in some fashion to come to her home, which when she walks in the front door of a typical showroom, you know, we have to work to build that level of trust to get her to agree to an in-home meeting. So she's invited you. You know, in sports, there's the analogy of the home court or the home field advantage. In this situation, the customer has the home court advantage, if you will. She's in her comfortable surroundings. She's wearing her comfortable shoes. She's got her type of music, you know, playing in the background, if that's the case. So, you know, we really need to approach how we approach the front door in a completely different fashion at her home than we do the front door of a showroom such as we're standing in.
So starting the conversation, it's completely different.
First thing we do, I think, is how we approach the door itself. You know, a cardinal rule for me would be never have any samples in my hand. If I'm carrying samples in before I've even met the lady or seen the area or heard her wishes, I'm saying that, you know, I presume that I know what you need. And I don't think that's necessarily, you know, an effective way to sell. I mean, if I go to the doctor's office, they don't show me the pills before they find out what hurts. I mean, that would be totally malpractice. Well, us trying to presume that somebody has a certain product, you know, that we'd like to see them buy, that sounds like that's in my best interest and not in the customer's best interest. So I'd never have anything in my hand but my clipboard or my measuring, my tablet, whatever, you know, your bag that you may have when you go out and, you know, do a job site assessment. First thing out of your mouth when ring the doorbell and you answer it and get past the pleasantries to introduce yourself is say something complimentary. Something complimentary about what you've just seen. You know, it may be the flowers by the front door, it may be the pin oak tree in the front yard, but boy, when I was waiting for you to come to the door, I just noticed that beautiful tree. You know, man, I wish I had a tree like that in my yard. Is there a story behind it? You know, you might hit gold and they'll say, you know, we planted that tree 37 years ago and we moved here and it was this big around. Now you got her talking, now you're comfortable. More times than not, they'll say, I don't know, it's here when we got here, and that occasional customer will just go, damn leaves. Well, at least now I know what I'm dealing with, you know. So any of those observations kind of tells me, you know, what my next path to take will be. When you go inside, again, something complimentary, you know, beautiful view. Are these your grandchildren? Is this a recent picture? How old are they now? Do you get to see them often? You know, these all factor in, because if she says they live in, you know, across the country, then they're probably not a card I keep if we're playing cards here. If she says, oh yeah, they're over here every Friday morning or every Saturday while their mom goes shopping, now I know I may incorporate them into my suggestions, into my sales presentation. Now I want to know their names, and as we get further into the process, you know, wouldn't you think little Jack and Jill would certainly enjoy laying on this softer cushion or this comfortable carpet, whatever the situation may be. That first couple of 3 minutes, you know, it's fact-finding, but be as complimentary as you can. All of us have time to accept a compliment. All of us will stop and talk to you about something that we have interest in or explain things to you. It's just so much better than walking in with your hands full of samples and basically saying, get out of my way. I'm here to sell you something.
Pushing enough buttons to try to get them to talk is certainly
Got to get them
a great way to
comfortable.
learn what's going on.
And, you know, we're not there to have a conversation. I get that. I mean, you know, we have another appointment scheduled 2 hours hence. But you've got to be able to take that first 3 or 4 minutes and just get them comfortable with you. Because, you know, they're judging you just as much or more as they're judging the samples you're about to bring in the door. You know, from that point, I'd ask to see the areas, listen to what her expectations are, ask her, you know, about the activity of the household. It's pretty clear if you're in her home, if she's got a dog or you know, maybe 3 or 4 kids are there, that sort of thing. You know, questions you'd be probing to, you know, to ask in the showroom will be much more obvious to you when you get, you know, at the actual job site. But just kind of take the temperature, see what her expectations are. You know, then now's the time probably. What I would suggest that we do is now bring in some product. When she says, I'm looking for this, or you know there's a product that probably would have good application, now's the time to excuse yourself, say, let me go out the car. There's 3 or 4 things I think would be very good in this application. I'd like to share them with you. And then bring in a more limited number. You can always go get more. But if you bring in 2 armfuls, you're going to be there all day and she's just going to be confused. You're going to try to limit it to 3 or 4 or 5, whatever's practical in this application, and see what the direction's taken. Maybe if she wants to play with them a little, look at them with their furniture in different lights, now's a good chance to excuse yourself and actually take the measurements. Make whatever notes you need to make about the installation itself, the transitions to other areas, and all the things we need to know to perform a good assessment. Do that while she's busy flipping through all the pretty things, and then now we can come back and meet, 10 minutes later. It depends on how big the job is, and then see what her likes and dislikes and questions, and we can start funneling down. I always say a sales like a funnel. You start with these big, broad questions, like a funnel's got a big end, and then you squeeze it down, pretty soon the order pops out. That's the ideal goal.
Would it be a good idea, just for the sake of argument, say, I had something hardwood in mind, but you see that maybe the application wouldn't be necessarily the best for wood. Bring in wood, but then also bring in LVT or something that would better suit that particular application. Would that be a good idea?
With her understanding and permission. I wouldn't just discount what she says, and I'd need some facts. Because if she wants hardwood and I'm like in a below grade application or on grade, I know I got to take a moisture relative humidity tests. If you don't, you're just being derelict. You're not doing your job, and she's going to not like you before it's over. But then if you see there are issues that might, and I know there's ways that, we can remediate that situation with sealers and certain adhesives and all. But, those are things that have to be factored into an order, those things that have additional costs. So then you can knowledgeably say, hardwood's an option, but maybe not the best option. Here are the things that, we would have to do in order to sell you a wood floor with a certain degree of confidence. If you would like to entertain that, I'll be happy to work up an estimate for you on that. But there are other things that may be of, a little simpler, easier, cheaper, if that is your goal. If she's going to live here, because by now you found out if this is home, or if she plans on living here 20 years, she may want to do what it takes to get that hardwood floor. If she's planning on living here too, and then putting it on the market, then that may just kick that, into the, not practical realm, and now we're going to have other products to suggest. But I wouldn't try to change her mind. I wouldn't discount what she's saying unless I had a reason, unless I had a practical alternative.
Now, suppose you do the presentation, she likes a particular product that you presented, you don't have the order. How do you leave the situation? Do you do it differently than you would do it in the showroom?
Well, maybe not differently, but I think, in the showroom we're a little too lax as well. Our goal is to sell everybody right now, first time we see them. I understand that. I also understand that's not practical. Nobody's going to sell 100% the first. Sometimes they say, I want to talk to my husband or my daughter or my wife, and they mean it. Some of us just want to sleep on it overnight. That saying came for a good reason. If that be the case, please set a specific time for follow-up, whether that be a return visit, whether that be a phone call. Say, I'm sure there'll be a few questions, or after you talk to your spouse, would it be convenient if I were to call you at noon tomorrow? Would that be a good time, or would earlier in the morning, say 10 o'clock, work better? Or if you're going back to return visit, whatever, just set that return visit or that return call right now. Don't say call me if you got any questions. So often in a showroom, I'll see people leave samples, and I would hope that an in-home salesperson leaving samples, or they're pulling out of the driveway with, with half an inventory to go to their next appointment with. They usually have to take their sample with them. But I see people going out the front door with an armful of samples and say, call me if you got any questions. And you might as well be saying goodbye. Nice talking to you. Set that follow-up. That way, when they go home tonight and she is talking to her husband or daughter, whatever the situation is, and they say, well, what about this? Or who's going to move that? Or did you ask them? And Now they can say, no, I forgot, but she's calling me at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Let me jot that down. I'll ask her when she calls. You'll find that your close rate, while not 100% in the home the first time, will be much greater if you can set that follow-up visit or follow-up call right then before you ever leave the presence. And then, of course, be gracious on your way out the door. A lot of us are friendly when we walk in a door and we're somewhat hurried, or we didn't get the answer we were looking for and we kind of run out the door like we're either half mad or our hair's on fire. You know, you've got to make as gracious an exit as you do an entrance, because that's the lasting impression you're going to leave with her.
A lot of people build databases on their customers and people they've talked to. Should that be something you try to do on this first call with a customer in their home? Perhaps talk about other areas of the home that they may be interested in putting new flooring down in the future?
Sure. Sure. I mean, that part doesn't really change. You know, if you want to go ahead and take the measurements, the information for adjoining areas, if she says, you know, when we get the kids back in school and have a little time, we're going to go ahead and do the family room before Christmas, something of that nature, then you would probably take the information and say, you know, if you don't mind, may I put you on our contact list, or I'll send you the flyers, the emails, whatever, and make you aware of promotions that we'll have in the fall. That's absolutely just good business. You really don't do that any differently than you would in the showroom, because what you're trying to do still is to build that personal repeat and referral business. That part really doesn't change.
But when you leave, you should always have a time for when you will contact her the next time.
If you haven't got an order, even if you do have an order, I would still say, you know, if you haven't got a specific delivery date, if you haven't got a specific installation date, say, you know, I will call you with your permission about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I'll have all this information and we'll go ahead and get started from there.